A warm welcome everybody to our webinar, Migrating to Dynamics 365, 3 main types of AP solutions you should consider. In the next 40 minutes or so, we will tell you more about the 3 options you could consider for your AP solution being a Microsoft Dynamics 365 user. This webinar will be recorded and shared with you afterwards, and if you have any questions, you can ask them at the end of the session. So now let me go through the agenda and introduce you to the speakers. The agenda of today's session, we will start with the introduction of the presenters. Then I will tell a bit more about the relationship between Medius and Microsoft, the AP challenges in general, and the differences between the AP automation offerings for Microsoft Dynamics 365. We will demo some scenarios in Medius Flow, and we will finish with the wrap-up and Q&A. Today's presenters. Both Eugène and myself are today's presenters. Eugène, my pre-sales colleague, will shortly demo the best-of-breed solution Medius Flow, and my name is Astrid Smits, Partner Sales Manager at Medius. So let's go to Medius and Microsoft. First of all, we are really proud of our relationship with Microsoft and feel well positioned to talk about this. At Medius, we've been around since 2001, helping our customers save time and money. And we manage over 150 million of spend annually. We have been working with Microsoft for over a decade, and for 8 years running, we've been a Microsoft Core partner in 3 categories: cloud platform, application development, and data analytics. With native integration with Microsoft Dynamics 365, F&O, and Business Central, as well as AX and NAV. We are actually the only preferred solution for AP automation in Microsoft's App Source, which was selected for its quality, performance, and ability to address customer needs in a certain industry vertical or solution area. We have over 1,200 Microsoft customers using Dynamics 365 or AX and NAV. All of them are in the cloud. One of our customers is Lush Cosmetics. They use AX 2012, and having implemented Medius Flow in combination with AX 2012, they now have a touchless ratio of 97% of invoice processing. So now let's talk about some typical challenges of AP departments. If you look at those challenges, you can divide them into 3 types: cash, cost, and compliance. If you look at the challenges when it comes to cash, they have no visibility into cash flow impacts from open supplier invoices. It's difficult for them to extend days payable outstanding without causing any friction in the supply chain, and they are unable to take advantage of early pay discounts. If you look at the cost, they have lost invoices and late payment fees. Their audits are costly and require manual data retrieval, and if a manual process is still in place, they also have high processing costs. For compliance, the biggest challenges are the limited control of delegation of authority, poor fraud detection or enforcement, and last but not least, timely and accurate financial reporting, which is always a challenge. So perhaps you recognize some of these challenges. And one other thing I would like to tell you, if you have unattended AP operations, it can result in 20 times higher costs for processing each invoice. On the vertical line, you see the cost per invoice, and on the horizontal line, you see the level of automation. The higher the level of automation, the lower the cost per invoice will be. So if you look at some different technologies, you can see the different phases in a level of automation. There are many technologies available whose primary purpose it is to digitize information from invoices. OCR is such a technology. E-invoicing and EDI are 2 more. RPA and supplier portals for submitting invoices are yet others. All of these are good techniques for receiving digital invoice information into your process, and of course, we leverage all of these to do just that. But to automate your AP invoice process, removing the need for manual intervention from up to 90% of your invoices. To achieve this, you need the mature and purpose-built workflow and matching capabilities of Medius Flow. We have packaged best practices and developed sophisticated but easy to implement automation features that are ready for you to use. Our solution uniquely collects benchmark information about the average and best-in-class performance from across hundreds of companies and enable you to compare your process to those benchmarks. This constantly pushes our customers to improve with minimal effort, as they know exactly where to focus right now to make their process even more efficient. We call this quantified and measured optimization and take pride in pushing our customers to be continuously improving their AP operations. So now let's talk about the differences when it comes to the three types of AP solutions. When navigating the AP automation landscape, being a Microsoft Dynamics user, perhaps ready to migrate to Dynamics 365, your finance department has to think about how to handle the AP automation process. There are three solutions, especially for Microsoft Dynamics 365. The invoice processing features within Dynamics 365, built-in or embedded solutions, and standalone cloud solutions. On the next slides, I will address the differences between these three types of AP solutions. First of all, your ERP was not built for AP, leaving your AP department with ad hoc processes and limited visibility. Medius Flow, as a best-of-breed solution, completes your ERP, bringing visibility and control across all of your business units and, if needed, all your ERPs or even different ERP versions, like, for example, AX 2012 in combination with Dynamics 365 F&O. It extends the ERP with full automation. It removes paper before it even enters your AP process. It provides you full visibility, reporting and dashboarding end-to-end, and it brings you cloud and mobility to your end users, which is nowadays very useful. AP automation exists out of three parts: capture and retrieving data of the invoice, matching with purchase orders and the workflow, and the integration towards Microsoft Dynamics. All these three parts make it possible to have more than 90% touchless invoice process. So if we know that and we look at the differences when it comes to capture, where the process starts, you have capture native versus standalone capture solutions. The pluses of a native capture solution are the following. You have high user adoption because everything is in one place. You have one user interface, one login, and one URL. You will have end-to-end analytics and reporting, extended automation, and data capture enabled by tight integration with the workflow, and it's a plug-and-play solution. Other considerations, if you look at the standalone capture solution, you have slower user adoption because you have two of everything. You have two logins, two user interfaces, 2 times the training, 2 times upgrading, and 2 URLs you need to go to. The implementation project requires to integrate to 2 products. 2 statistic databases limits a full end-to-end overview and control. And you have limited possibilities to improve data extraction and automation unless large investments are done. So what are the key differentiators? When using Medius Flow Capture, you will have the following key differentiators. You have one user interface. You can have one line level extraction, so you're in control, and you have messages when it comes, for example, to error invoices. One UI. When we look at one user interface, you will have one UI, one login, and a minimum of training. There's no need anymore to remember 2 logins or to work with 2 different user interfaces. When we look at line level extraction, you will receive the best-in-class first-time line level capture. solution. So you have all lines on an invoice captured the way it should be. You are also in control. And when we say you're in control, it means no more optimization and feedback to an outsourced team. You are in control of your own learning. Extend your control with end-to-end reporting, and you will have complete insight to your capture and workflow process. If we look at error invoices, you will get error notifications when you have an error on your invoices. So no invoices are lost. And doing that, you will have full control of all your invoices, even those who cannot be processed. Other capture highlights already available, and of which some of them are on our roadmap, are capture reporting, automatic company identification, e-invoicing, and cross-company learning. So learning in one company can be copied to all other companies. If we look at the differences when it comes to workflow, a similar overview is created for the workflow when you look at generic versus specialized workflow solutions. When having a generic approach for workflow, you have studio design tools offering customization flexibility. You have IT, ERP, or developer resource demands. Customization drives delay in deployment, and the scope will be spread. Customization can also increase ongoing maintenance and administration, and customization can restrict agility in the future. If you look at specialized solutions, you have best-of-breed packaged workflows which deliver AP domain-specific functionality. They are designed and deployed from a finance perspective. It offers business use control and configuration possibilities. So you will have true AP automation. You will have continuously process improvements out of the box, and you can benefit from true cloud product updates. So you will have monthly functional benefits. Now we are going to talk about the differences about the ERP part. The last part of the process is the integration towards the ERP, or as it states here, ERP native tools or embedded solutions. The ERP native solutions or embedded solutions provide you a corporate technology choice. It gives you a potential for complete solution. And the people are already familiar with the user interface, which means to most of them, perhaps not for the approvers. So if you look at other considerations, the need of IT or partner services for implementation, and that's very important because if they do not succeed, they're often left to stagnate. IT might form a bottleneck for enhancement or changes. It requires development or IT resources, and the business needs to rely on IT. Then you also can think about scalability and flexibility. How scalable are you? And what to think about compliancy. Are you compliant with the legal and functional requirements in every country, for example? Another topic is the user adoption. And most of the time, if you have an upgrade, AP automation has impact on that as well. And last but not least, you have bulky and heavy IT administration. Now my colleague Eugène will demo some scenarios of AP invoice processing, also showing you our CFO dashboard and approving or rejecting invoices via a mobile device. Eugène, would you please take over?
Thank you, Astrid, for introducing me. And thank you all for having me here today, showing you the Medius Flow application. To start with the process flow, let's see what happens within Medius Flow. You will receive, of course, the invoices from your supplier. The invoices can still be on paper. Then you need to scan them to make sure that we have an image as an attachment that can be sent to the Medius Flow environment. On the other hand, we can import emails with attachments and send that to the Medius Flow environment, and also e-invoicing, and we support XML and EDI. In the workflow itself, we have our own capture solution where we will capture the data from the invoice, and after that we will send it to the workflow as a non-PO invoice or a PO-based invoice. A non-PO invoice, also a general expense invoice, we can automate them by coding them and distributing automatically via templates or AI. Then of course we need an approval of that invoice, and that can be on your mobile device or your desktop. For the PO-based invoice, we are going to connect them to the purchase order and also to the goods received for three-way matching. Two-way matching is also a solution we provide within our Medius Flow environment. If there is a complete match, then we have a touchless posting. And we can even achieve that with the exception management tool, where we can automate, for instance, costs that are not on the PO, but are still on the invoice, like freight costs. At the end, we will integrate with Microsoft Dynamics for posting the invoice when we receive a voucher number back, but also synchronizing your master data to make sure that we can process your invoice. So we are going to synchronize, for instance, your suppliers, your chart of accounts, POs, goods received, but also items and tax groups. The solution is complete with an iGraph, audit trail, dashboards, and reports. And it's based on the Azure environment of Microsoft. So let's go to the environment itself. The environment is also connected to your Active Directory for synchronizing users with the username and passwords. So you can use your own username and password to log in into our system. In my demo environment, I'm going to log in as Amy. And Amy is a person who can do almost everything inside the solution. I just want to make sure that I don't need to log in and log out every time. But of course, in real life, in production, there will be several kinds of users that are going to make sure that the tasks are going to be authorized, rejected, approved, or whatever needed to process the invoices. So I'm going to log in. And when Amy is logging in, she will go to the landing page of Medius Flow. On the left side, you will see the task list, and on the right side, the information about the task that is selected. In this case, an incoming invoice where we need to verify the invoice. If we go to that invoice, by selecting the task, you will see the image of the invoice in the center. On the right side, the header information, and in the bottom, the invoice lines. In this case, it is a PO-based invoice. It is connected automatically to the company, also to the supplier. We made sure that we captured the invoice number, the PO number, the invoice date. It says that the invoice cannot be older than 30 days, and that's because we configured that it needs to look for that specific date with a threshold. I can overrule it by just pressing enter. You see the amount, the currency is US dollars, and the total amount is $89.69. For my script, I'm going to delete the PO number, just to show you that we can also manage invoices that has incorrect data. I'm going to explain later on in the workflow. Just click on Send to Workflow, click on Yes, and you go automatically to the next invoice. In this case, it is a general expense invoice, connected to the entity, connected to the supplier. The invoice number is selected. The date is again older than 30 days. We have US dollars. There is no VAT, and the total amount is captured also. If you want to capture more fields then presented on the right side, just one mouse click away, you can add extra fields, even line items. And you'll see that the line items are captured automatically. That's because we are using AI and machine learning to make sure that without creating templates, we can capture all the data necessary to process your invoice. In this case, I don't need line items, thus I'm going to uncheck them. I'm going to change the invoice number because I'm using this one more often in my demos, and I'm going to send this one to the workflow. Later on, you're going to see that this general expense invoice is already coded and distributed to 2 persons who are responsible for different departments. Just click Send to Workflow and you go directly to the next task. If we look at the expense invoices, you will see that we received a new task. When I open the task, you can see it is the invoice I just verified within the Verify task. In this case, there was a mistake by capturing the PO number. And I'm going to show you how you can make sure that this invoice will be a PO-based invoice with the correct PO number. And we are going to use invalidate and edit to make sure that it's going to work. First of all, we need to reclassify it as an order-based invoice. And after that, we can check if the data is correct. We need to add the PO number because we didn't capture that one. And after that, we can submit it to the workflow again. Let's see if the invoice is going to go to the order-based section. And there it is. It is already in post control. That means that the invoice is connected to the PO. The invoice lines are connected to the goods received lines, and the match was 100%, so there is no deviation. If you are going to look at the details, you will see that the first line is an item line, the invoice is connected to the PO, and also to the goods received line. We check the quantity and the unit price, and there is no deviation. The second line is what we call the exception type. We will have freight on the invoice, and we told the system that we can expect that for less than $10. And if that's correct, in this case it is $8.44, then we can automatically code it and authorize it. And you will see in the coding section that we created an extra line for the incoming freight for $8.44. If we are going to look to another example, for instance, if there is a deviation, there will be an Analyze Deviation task created. By opening the invoice, you will see the invoice line on the left side, on the right side the details, with only the invoice lines where is a deviation. If you want to see all lines, just click on Press Show All Lines. But we want to help you, not searching for the deviation through maybe 100 lines, but just showing you the lines with the deviation. In this case, there is a deviation on quantity. If you click on the icon, you will see on the invoice it stated 4. In the goods received we have 3, so there's a deviation of 1 with a total deviation amount. You can approve or reject that one. If I approve it, it will be changed in the green icon. Let's go to the second line. Here we will have a unit price deviation. If you click on it, you will see that the invoice has a different amount than the goods received and that there is a deviation. Let's make sure that we are going to reject this one. I need to add a comment to make sure that we can process it. And when I click Reject with an adjustment request, then the system is generating automatically an adjustment request document, ready to send to your supplier with all the necessary information to make sure that you will get a credit. And when the adjustment request number is available on the credit note, we can even match it against each other. So all the data as the order number, the item number, but also the kind of adjustment we need, the price, it's all on this document. And just by sending it to the supplier, you will receive in time a credit note and we can match it against this adjustment request. If we look at the general expense invoices, and I'm going to switch to one of the budget holders. Her name is Penny, and she is responsible for Department 10. We just sent the invoice of Watts Catering into the workflow system. We made sure that the invoice was split in 2 lines. One line where we have a coding for Department 10, and the second line we have a coding for Department 20. Because Penny is responsible for Department 10, she needs to authorize the first line. And it's as easy as clicking on one of the icons, approve or reject. Let's approve it and send it into the workflow. And the system automatically goes to the next task. If we look at mobile devices, then we don't need to implement an app. We're still using a website. And on every mobile device, you have availability of web browsers. And the system knows exactly which mobile device you're using, and you only need to log in and log out in the website or just press the link you received in your email for rejecting or approving an invoice. In this case, we are going to log in as Howard, and Howard is responsible for Department 20. Just log in and you will see the task list, in this case from Howard. And here is the Watts Catering invoice. And when we press on it, you will see that we have the coding, we have the details, we have comments, and also the image. And if we go back to the first tab, we can reject or approve the invoice. Let's click on approve and send it to the workflow again. My process makes sure that also the manager of Howard needs to approve the invoice, because Howard only may approve invoices till $100. Fiona, the manager of Howard, is logging in, and in her task list, she will see a new task. And when she clicks on it, she can see that Howard already authorized the invoice line, but that the authorization limit was exceeded. And therefore, she needs to authorize or reject this invoice. She also has the history of this invoice, so she can see that it was received, it was already verified, it was connected, it was coded automatically, there were notifications sent, and it was authorized by Penny and also approved by Howard. And now it's waiting for a second approval, Fiona. Just press approve and send it to the workflow, and then let's go back to Amy, because Amy is the last station of this invoice. Normally it could already be posted in your ERP system, but in my case I don't have an ERP system connected to my system, and that's why I stopped it in a post-control task, where you can check everything, and at a final approval it will be archived in our system. Not only approving or rejecting invoices is important, but also information necessary to make sure that we automate your process. And therefore we have some dashboards and reporting. If we go to the dashboards, you will see that we have a cash flow and net working capital impact dashboard, where you can see the cash requirements, the closing trends, the DPO, but also the missed cash discount. And this data is clickable, so you can go to the data behind it. And I'm going to explain in a little while how you can create your own reports within Medius Flow. We also have the AP process performance overview. So how is your system performing? And of course, we can search for invoices. So if you are looking, for instance, for data and information for the Watts Catering invoice, just make sure that you have the correct filters on the database, press search, and you will see the results in a list. You can see that the current task is in post-control and that the current handler is expense ePay. That's a role within our system. And if you click on the invoice number, you will go to the screen with all the details, including the image, but also the details, the comments, the attachments, the history, and the links. It depends on your role which dashboards you will have standard within our solution. We also have some performance. So what are the bottlenecks? These kind of reports are all created to make sure that we are going to make a better performance after you can change the bottleneck. At the reports, we have some standard reports. For instance, the accrual report period closing by supplier. This is a very helpful report for using at the period closing. It will have all the invoices that are currently in the system that are not processed completely. If you need to edit this report, just click Edit Report and you can choose from other fields in the database to add some extra information to your own created report. For instance, if I need the supplier ID and perhaps I need a reference or a net amount, just click on the fields, run the report, and the data is automatically available. You can save it, you can export it to Excel, and if you want to do some sorting, that's also possible. For instance, the invoice reference. Just drag and drop, and you will see that it is sorted by supplier name and by invoice reference. In the report section, we can also create a data link. And this data link makes sure that you can synchronize our data with your own BI tool. Just by clicking on it, copy the link and use it in your own BI tool. We can schedule the reports. For instance, if you want to have the report every Friday in your mailbox as an Excel file, that's a possibility. A new function is Medius Analytics. It is based on the same data in our system. And the data will be presented like this in the Analytics tool. And these tools are going to help you better performance in your system and also show you where the bottlenecks are, and you can create your own KPIs. Thank you. Go back to Astrid.
Thank you very much, Eugène, for showing us some of the scenarios when processing invoices and the impressive dashboards and reports. Now it's time for the wrap-up. With Medius Flow, we deliver you standard integration towards Microsoft Dynamics AX, starting at AX 2009, NAV, and the cloud solutions, Microsoft Business Solution, Microsoft Business Central, and also Microsoft Dynamics 365 F&O. We also support the Microsoft One version strategy. At our success portal, which is a public page, you can find all relevant information, like, for example, our release notes, user guides, and also frequently asked questions. I'm now showing some parts of our success portal on which you can find the information how we support the Microsoft One version strategy. With Medius Flow, you select the best of breed solution, being independent of your ERP partner, and even ERP solutions or different versions of your ERP, since we can connect to any ERP and any ERP version. If, for example, your partner has a lack of resources to implement such a solution, it might be best to have a best-of-breed solution to be up and running quickly. Also, when you have your own competence center, they can easily roll out Medius Flow to other subsidiaries, countries, or even companies you might have acquired. The solution has a minimum footprint in your Dynamics 365 environment and a low impact on the ERP upgrade process. So having said that, Medius Flow is a safe bet for Microsoft Dynamics 365. We have more than 1,200 customers worldwide, packaged integrations. We are Microsoft AppSource certified, having a full focus on AP invoice automation since 2001, and the fast time to value and best practices will get you up and running as quickly as possible. So AP automation is all about being in control. Last but certainly not least, you have all invoices from all companies, both direct and indirect materials in one place. Your books are closed on time every time. No lost invoices anymore, and you will have complete audit trail. You have insight into the cash flow impact from supplier invoices as soon as invoices are received. You continuously can do a days payable outstanding analysis with year-on-year overlay. You can have enforced delegation of authority. You will have SOX and SOX compliant processes and tools, and your audits will be less stressful. So thank you all for participating. I noticed that we run out of time. So if you have any questions you would like to address, my email address is on the screen, so you can always reach out to ask questions. And of course, you can also visit mediusflow.com to have a look at all the information we shared today. The recording will be shared with you afterwards. So thank you for attending our webinar and enjoy the rest of your day.